they said no soldier will do more than 365 days boots on ground. On day 364, I'm going to fly over there. And this is coming from the Secretary of Defense at the time. I'm going to fly over, put that unit on a plane, and send them home the next day. Well, we were ready to go home after being there for a year. We had brought all of our stuff down to the port and everything, and cleaned up the tents, that we were staying in Iraq, cots folded in the corner, outside waiting to go to the airport, and our flight was supposed to be taken off in 12 hours. Buses pull up around the corner, stop, helicopter flies in. Colonel gets off, bunch of MPs, and says, "Tighten up your chin straps, boys, you're going back in."
I do not know you, but I am your brother.
You do not know me, but I am your protector.
I will run into a burning building to save your life.
Though I do not know your name, I will take a bullet for you.
Though we've never met,
I believe in duty and sacrifice
of self.
Your family is my family.
Is my family. Your life is my duty.
What's going on, guys? Time for another episode of Behind the Uniforms. For those of you who have never seen the show before, the way that we roll is that we invite veterans, first responders onto the show to tell us about a good day, tell us about a bad day, to really humanize the stories behind the uniforms. One of the things that's always been very near to our hearts is the men and women who are serving and protecting our communities and our country who are then taken advantage of. So without further ado, I'd like you to tell them all who you are.
All right. My name is Chris Henry. I live in Auburn, Maine. Was in the military for 17 years, retired in '06, deployed to Bosnia from 2000 to 2001. 17 months later, got activated again and served from December of '02 to August of, when I got home, August of '04. So 20 months. I was served with the 94th Military Police Company.
All right, talk to me about your experience.
Well, my experience, the unit I was with it's a great unit. We're a combat MP company. We went over and we brought everybody home. Some battered up, bruised, injured, torn up and everything, but we brought everybody home. Awesome. So, I mean, it was a great unit. The men in my squad, 1st Platoon, 3rd Squad, some of the best guys I've ever served with.
Awesome.
So,
and who's this? Why don't we tell everybody, introduce him?
This is Bruschi, as in Teddy Bruschi. A lot of people think it's Bruschi as in the beer, but no. This is Bruschi. He's my service dog. He's 3 years old. He's just getting over Lyme, so
He's looking at that whiskey.
Yeah, he's looking at the whiskey. He heard a bark outside. So, so my story is, I met this woman, and back in '01 we got married. In '02, 3 weeks after we got married, I got a phone call saying my unit was being deployed. 5 weeks after that, we were gone. So we left. 2 months after I got married. We left December 5th, 2002, and came back August 5th of 2004. Now, the whole time I was gone, the bills weren't getting paid. The bills were not getting paid. My mortgage didn't get paid. My electricity didn't get paid. My water, my sewer, any of the bills, But soldiers, when they're deployed, they're covered under the Sailors, Soldiers, Civil Relief Act. So the mortgage company can't go and foreclose on your house.
While you're there.
While you're over there, while you're on orders. So when you come back, like when I came back, there was no money. None of the bills were paid. And I had 13 years in at the time. I was in E6. I made good money while I was over there.
Jeez.
And of course, you're overseas and you're in a war zone, so it's tax-free money.
Yeah.
All the bills should have been paid, and there should have been plenty extra. But so I come back, and 90 days after I'm off orders, my mortgage company is going to foreclose on my house. Not only that, there was Rent-A-Center. Everyone knows Rent-A-Center. You can go, you can buy something, and
jacked up rates.
Oh, jacked up rates. Well, they can't really. I don't know if I'm covered in the Sailor Soldier Civil Relief Act on that, but anyway, I mean, spending money on that, spending money on all kinds of stuff. Nothing was paid. So I come back and lie after lie after lie. She tells me I wasn't getting paid by the military. So I start fighting with the military, trying to figure out where did this money go. You know, I mean, there was $90,000 roughly. I was gone for 20 months straight. All gone. You know, oh, you weren't getting paid, you weren't getting paid. Well, I eventually started finding my pay stubs hidden all around the house and everything. Well, when I come back, of course, I knew I was going to be a changed person, you know. Had gone over to Iraq and everything and spent 16 months in country. So I'm changed. I start going to counseling and stuff like that. And that kind of says, all right, you can no longer be an MP, you know, because now I'm going to counseling for PTSD and stuff. So my military career stopped. I was like, all right. So I ended up retiring from the military, 17 years, you know. But then I started getting, I had gone to the VA. I started getting disability. Well, as I'm going to counseling, my counselor says, yeah, you should have gotten, you know, like your 4th or 5th check. I'm not getting any checks. They're like, yeah, your rating came through. I'm like, really? How's that? All that money was gone, disappearing. You know, all the back pay that I mean, it was gone. So I was brought up old-fashioned. I grew up in a small town, Jay, Maine, you know, where everybody helps people out and stuff. So I'm this old-fashioned, okay, you can work through anything but infidelity and stuff. So we're working things out, whatever. Time goes on, just she's spending money. I have to file a bankruptcy, Chapter 13, get a lawyer, try to save the house, everything. So now I've got a court-ordered trustee. I'm paying everything back. So I'm making 2 mortgage payments every month, and plus on top of all this other stuff. I mean, it was just hectic. I go back to my civilian job as an iron worker. But then in '08, one of the guys that I served with getting married, well, just before his wedding, I saw caught my wife cheating. So, well, all right, good, you know, so you can go on, do your thing, but that's, you know, all that stuff, you know, she served me with protection from abuse order, which was bogus, you know. Thank God her 2 sons came to court. Her 2 sons. I don't have any kids myself, but her 2 sons came to court on my behalf. They came with me.
Wow.
They got thrown out with prejudice. So the judge saw through all that because, I mean, I'd never had the cops called on me before.
Right.
You know, so I don't know how she got that, but she had taken my truck. I was kicked out of my house. I mean, the house that I had just saved and everything, you know. Had taken my other dog. I mean, just... Eventually, the kids helped me get all that stuff back. So she was dragging her feet through this divorce. And then about a year and a half, and 9 days before we go to mediation, come to find out, I was talking to her, I thought was her first husband. He tells me, and he lives in the next town away, he tells me, no, Chris, I'm husband number 2. I'm like, well, if you're husband number 2, and the guy in Chicago is number 3.
Who's number 1?
How can I be number 3? Because my marriage certificate says that this is her 3rd wedding.
Get out of here.
How can I be husband number 3 if the guy in Chicago? He says, no, you're number 5.
What?
Or 4, unless she got the 4th one annulled. So I start, you know, doing some work myself, looking into it and stuff. 9 days before mediation, get a hold of someone in the state, whatever, you know, marriage licensing and stuff, and they say, well, you know, I can tell you when they were divorced. He divorced her in 2003.
2003?
So, yeah, do the math.
So that means that your marriage was null and void.
Absolutely. All of that just stole all that money the whole time.
A con artist.
And, yeah, and so yeah.
I'd be digging a real deep hole at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was really glad to get rid of her. The only thing I was really upset my lawyer didn't make her get rid of my last name. I wanted her to get rid of. I don't want her to have my last name anymore. But thank God she's remarried now, people. and she just no longer has my
Holy
last name. So
cow.
that's a little bit of healing for me right there. But yeah, all that, I mean, like I said, $80,000 to $90,000, and then when you've got to try to make all that up, I mean, it just compound and makes more, you know. So the whole time I served overseas, the whole 20 months I was gone, pretty much did it for free.
How does that feel looking back on it? Is there anything positive that you can pull from that experience? Are there any lessons that you can share with people?
There is. And another thing that I started doing, I think it was back in 2010, 11 or something like that, is I wrote a letter to Susan Collins, the senator from Maine, Olympia Snowe, who was the senator at the time, and Congressman Mike Michoud. Of course, I'm going to throw Susan Collins and Olympia Snowe under the bus. Didn't hear back from him. No, not at all. Didn't hear back. Mike Michoud, I heard back from him. But the letter I got back was kind of ridiculous. It had nothing to do with the letter that I wrote. So, fortunately, one day, the vet center that I went to, they had an open house. They had just moved buildings a few months before, so they had an open house. I just happened to be in the office, just sitting down, chatting, and he popped his head in. Oh, that was a good day.
It's like a gift from God himself.
I says, Mike, come on in. I said, I got a bone to pick with you. Why don't you sit down? And so he came in, but he was really polite, you know. So I said, all right, you know, and I've always believed, you know, if you're gonna show respect, you know, I'm gonna give respect. So he was showing respect. So, so I talked to him. I says, you know, I wrote you this letter, you know, about the military. I says, the military makes you sign a power of attorney whenever you're being deployed. Everyone has to sign one because your bills have to get paid. All the soldiers are responsible to make sure bills get paid while you're overseas in a combat zone. So someone has to have that power of attorney. So you can give it to your spouse, who, well, I thought she was my spouse, you know. You can give it to your parents. And I know a guy whose mother took all his money while he was gone. So it doesn't matter. When you're gone, that person has a power of attorney. They can do whatever they want with your money. Now, Mike Michoud, after that, he went back to his office. He read the letter that they wrote me, and then he read the letter that I wrote to him. And he said, well, this doesn't make any sense. And he showed his chief of staff, and chief of staff said the same thing. He's like, why did we send that out? It doesn't make any sense. I looked at it when I wrote this letter, you know, saying, okay, that's a problem in the military. It has to be fixed, you know, and you could write a bill, but, you know, I mean, you're going to take a long time just trying to figure that out. Or you could simply go to the Department of Defense, and you could tell them just to reword the power of attorney, because it's like a blanket power of attorney. So I even offered the solution in my letter. So he kind of ran with it. And eventually, he made it all the way up to Department of Defense, and he got a letter back, and it came back to me as well. It was from the Undersecretary of Defense, and this is from the last administration, saying, "Oh no, we have policies in place to protect the soldiers from things like that happening."
Which was BS.
Yeah, no, there's no policies in place, and policies in the military change all the time. So that policy, you can't protect that soldier. You could, the lawyers that write these power of attorneys, just rewrite it saying that the person who has this power of attorney is responsible to pay these bills. If not, when the soldier returns, those bills will fall on the person who had the power of attorney.
Gotcha.
You could just reword it that
Sure.
way, or do something. I'm sure some lawyer's going to argue, you know, because, you know, they're all smarter than us,
Right,
you know, of course.
right.
So, but, you know.
So where did it end up?
It didn't. It stopped right there after the Undersecretary of Defense, you know, and so.
But that was such a veteran-friendly administration.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. So, you know, I'm giving them solutions too, you know. No. So, and for them to say that there's policies set in place, well, like when I said earlier, policies change all the time. I mentioned that I served in Bosnia from 2000 to 2001. There was a policy in the military. When a unit comes off of deployment, they're not supposed to be deployed for 3 years. because they have to, get all up and, manpower and equipment and all that and the training. I was only home 17 months when I got deployed to Iraq.
Wow.
So that policy went out of place. When I was in Iraq, I remember they said no soldier will do more than 365 days boots on ground. On day 364, I'm going to fly over there. And this is coming from the Secretary of Defense at the time. I'm going to fly over, put that unit on a plane, and send them home the next day. Well, we were ready to go home after being there for a year. We had brought all of our stuff down to the port and everything, and cleaned up the tents, that we were staying in Iraq, cots folded in the corner, outside waiting to go to the airport, and our flight was supposed to be taken off in 12 hours. Buses pull up around the corner, stop, helicopter flies in. Colonel gets off, bunch of MPs, and says, "Tighten up your chin straps, boys, you're going back in."
Come on.
That was when we got extended the second time. So after being gone 16 months and being in country a year, we're getting extended, and we have to stay, and we watched all of our counterparts go home and everything, and we're going back in now. So that policy changed too.
Well, and it's tremendously demoralizing, I have to imagine.
Yeah. It hurt because I had always told my guys, don't believe any rumors unless you hear it from me.
Yeah.
Because, you hear rumors whenever you're overseas, and that can play games with soldiers' heads and stuff like that. So when my guys used to hear a rumor, they would come and ask me, and well, I'll let you know when it's true. Well, unfortunately,
You have to go tell them
one of the
it's true.
times I told them, I says, as we were walking out, I said, "Boys, we're going home." Yeah, spoke too early.
Jeez.
So when we had to go back in.
For how long?
Another 4 months.
Jeez.
So that's why we did 16 months in country, and we'd done 4 months before that, and it was, yeah.
That's a long
Yeah.
time.
So policies changed. So that under the Secretary of Defense telling me that there's a policy set in place to protect soldiers, I don't know who she's talking about. She's talking about active duty, or she's talking about the reservists, National Guard that have, homes at home that have to pay that mortgage and have all those other bills. She's not talking about us.
A question that I like to ask every guest on the show: what does America mean to you?
Wow. I guess you haven't checked my Facebook page. I've been, and I don't know how many days I've been doing it, but I've been writing every day, I'm an American. Every day. I gotta be working on 200 days or something like that every day. People have been asking me that. What does that mean? What does that mean? That is kind of like another long story too. I haven't let anyone know why I've been doing it. But like I said earlier, I grew up in a small town, Jay. Everybody helps each other out. My parents are still married, I got into sports outside of school, speed skating. My coach and his 3 sons and stuff like that, they're Americans too. Then eventually I joined the military, and I went overseas to Germany for a while and stuff, and got a really good friend, Paul. He's an American. I went through basic, AIT, Germany, still talk to him, Lately I've been, actually in my unit, there's people in my unit, other platoons and stuff, Ricky, Alex, they're all Americans. Some of the people I served with overseas too, David, he's an American. I just got into this program, and I'm playing golf through the Salute Military Golf Association. Great program. It's actually been healing for me. And the guys I play with, Butch, Ron, Dan, they're all Americans. And I'm telling you this whole background because right now, all I've done is I've just told you their names. But we're all different people, all walks of life, people of color, people of different religion, people of different genders, different political backgrounds, and it doesn't matter. We're all Americans, plain and simple.
Yep.
I look at it, I don't describe people Oh yeah, I've got this friend. He's African American. Why? Why do you even have to say that?
Right.
I just call them
He's
by
an
their
American.
name. The only time I'm really going to have to really describe someone is if I witness a crime or something like that, and you need to get, you witness a crime and the police are, asking you the information and stuff. That's when you should mention.
Give as much detail as possible.
Exactly. But yeah, whether you're Republican or Democrat, I don't care. I judge people on their character.
Totally.
Not because of the color of their skin, not because of their political background or their, religion. David, he was one of the Iraq interpreters from Iraq, he's an American. He's over here, So to me, this country is a melting pot, and we need to cut it out with all this other shit.
rhetoric, yeah.
We just need to be Americans and concentrate on ourselves and being good to one each other,
Totally agree.
So
I think it's fair to judge someone on character and whether or not they're an asshole.
that's
all that we need, right?
That's the way I judge people. Yeah, I'm gonna call you an asshole, but don't call me racist because you're or a sexist because you're a female, and I say you're an asshole.
Yeah.
It's
nothing to do with the fact that you're a female.
Yeah,
It has to do with the fact that
I'm
you're an
not
asshole.
sexist. It's because of your character, the way you're treating people and
Yep.
stuff.
100%.
Cut the shit. It's
So what is your message for Americans?
wake up, embrace each other, judge people on their character, not the color of their skin, not their religion. One of the things that really used to piss me off is when I first got home and I went back to work, and I would hear people say, oh, we should just nuke that place, just turn it into a big parking lot. Like, that's fucking bullshit right there,
lot of lies.
because David, Mustafa, all these guys that, the interpreters that I worked with while I was over there, they put their lives on the line. They put their families' lives on the line every day for like 5 years. They did that, working with Americans and stuff. They did that for us because they knew it was the right thing and they were working with us, but their lives were in jeopardy. Now, they did more for me than the guy sitting in the lunchroom saying, let's just turn that place into a glass parking lot.
Yeah.
Well, I've got friends that are still over there.
Yeah.
I've made some friends that were Iraq. Just because there's a few assholes
Yeah.
doesn't mean all of them are.
Absolutely.
So
That's a simple but a powerful message.
absolutely.
Anything else you want to add to these guys?
No, not much.
Brother, thank you for coming
So,
out.
Hey, thank you.
Guys, for all those of you who are watching, it's going to take you 2 seconds. Hit the share button to help get the stories behind the uniforms out there. I hope you'll help us out. Any parting words from you? No? Want some whiskey? Thanks so much, guys. God bless America.